Welcome to a Steeler Thoughts Chief Feelings film review. I'm Ajay Nair. In this video, we'll review the Steelers' 27-14 victory in Week 14 over the Browns. As always, this video is broken up into chapters, so if there's a particular segment you want to see, go down to the scroll bar or look in the video's description and select the segment that you want to watch. If you're here to watch the whole thing, just stick with us right here. Thanks to all of you who follow along here on the YouTube channel, or to those of you that listen to our podcast, the Steeler Thoughts Chief Feelings podcast, at whatever app you get podcasts on. And thanks to all of you who follow us on social media. We're at STCF715 on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, and our Twitter is particularly active on Chiefs and Steelers game days. Well, let's get into this film review. So we'll start this film review with 13:31 to go in the first quarter. The Browns have the ball with a 1st and 10 at their own 17-yard line. The Steelers started the game with the ball and punted, and this is the Browns' first drive, just getting started. So the Browns come out with two tight ends. They've got one here, and they've got David Njoku over there, making this 12 personnel. One running back, two tight ends, gets you 12 personnel. And the Steelers, as they often do in these bigger sets, come out with three interior linemen. So instead of, we've talked about this before, instead of a base personnel where you have two edges, two defensive tackles, and three linebackers, the Steelers like to run their base where they have two edges, three interior defensive linemen, and two linebackers. So it almost looks like a 5-2 defense. So they come out lined up here, and the Browns bring everything in and condense it. And what they do, well, let's run the play first. So there's a look at the play, and let's kind of break down what happens. So what the Browns are trying to do is they're trying to take their right guard and their outside tight end and pull them, and have everybody else, including the wide receiver Jeudy, block down. And so what they're hoping to do is to kind of muck up everything here, get everybody forced in, and then have two guys on the edge for the pullers to come and block. Ideally, 77, the guard, could take Highsmith, and then the tight end could come around and take Dante Jackson. That's the kind of design of this play. Well, as you saw when we ran it, it got blown up immediately because TJ Watt saw what was coming immediately. The thing that's supposed to hold TJ Watt in this situation is the fear of a bootleg from Jameis Winston, right? He could theoretically fake the handoff and bootleg out to his right. And so TJ Watt would be the player that's responsible for contain. So what this player often does in this situation where you've got a run action to this left side is the player in Watt's position will often charge down and contain to be ready for the potential bootleg action. Because oftentimes if you're chasing a run down the line of scrimmage, you're not going to get there anyway. Well, except if you're TJ Watt, who has great reaction time to the snap, great athleticism, and great confidence that he knows what's going on. He's not afraid of the bootleg at all. He, for whatever reason, has some tell in this play. He feels quite confident. As you can see, he's not... At this point, he's already keying at the running back at the mesh point. He's not looking for Winston whatsoever. So, for some reason, TJ Watt knows what's happening here and goes straight for the running back, never hesitating for even an instant. And he tackles Chubb for a loss of 5 yards. This quality that Watt has, sometimes I've called it that he just makes like superhuman plays every once in a while. This quality that he has, especially in this scenario, reminds me a lot of Troy Polamalu. Like, how many times have you seen Troy Polamalu make a play just because he knew exactly what was coming? Now, Polamalu's plays often were a little more striking, like he'd be diving over the line of scrimmage, or he'd jump the snap so fast that no blocker would even have a chance to block. Like, it just would look completely superhuman. Watts aren't like that, but it's a similar idea that he just knows what's coming and the offense has no chance of getting a play going. Now, we can see it from the end zone view. And the thing that's actually pretty funny about this play is that let's look at what would have happened if Watt had not come in. So if you remember, the play design is, well, let's let that second tight end come in his motion. There he comes. So the play design is we're going to, well, I'll let Jeudy come in on the left side too, just to get the full picture. There he comes. So everybody here is blocking down, right? Including Jeudy. They're leaving Highsmith, and nobody's accounting for them. Everybody else, they're just blocking down. So the idea is to muck up this entire area, shove everybody down, get to the second level, and create a seal here. And then they're going to have the pulling guard come and get Highsmith, and the pulling tight end follow and hopefully get Joey Porter over here and spring this run. But if you see what happens, Highsmith kind of comes and crashes down. Here comes the guard to come get him, but he's unable to get a great block right there. In addition, Patrick Queen does a great job of scraping over very quickly and not getting caught in traffic. He also then encounters the guard that Highsmith has bounced off of, and he comes off of it too. So assuming Watt wasn't here, you've got Highsmith, Queen, and then Porter following them, and there's only one guy to try to do anything. That's this tight end pulling. So this play would have been blown up anyway, but TJ Watt's performance just makes that all the worse and made them lose even an extra couple yards. So it was a good initial play from the Steelers defense and a bit of a statement as to how the Steelers defense was approaching this game and what it would be like playing the Steelers defense for the majority of this game. Now we jump ahead to 5:50 to go in the first quarter. The Browns have the ball with a 3rd and 9 at the Steelers' 35-yard line. At this point, the Browns are down 3-0. The Steelers came down and kicked a field goal, and this is the Browns' ensuing drive. They're in a 3rd and long situation, and let's run the play once and see what happens. Winston ends up finding Jeudy on a long pass for a touchdown, giving the Browns the lead 7-3. So let's break down what happened. The Browns come out here, and they are lined up in what looks like 12 personnel. It looks like they've got one running back here, and I don't know the Browns personnel that well. It looks like we've got 2 tight ends and then 2 wide receivers. So it looks like 12 personnel. The Steelers are back in their familiar kind of nickel set. They've got 5 defensive backs here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 linebackers, only 2 interior linemen with their edges. So the Browns, after they complete their motion, are going to run a pass play here against the Steelers' standard cover 3. So the Steelers going to have Minka drop down, and then they've got 3 deep. This is kind of the base Steelers defense here against the pass. They've got 3 deep, 3 underneath zones here, and then Minka comes in and fills to be the 4th underneath zone. The way that the Browns try to combat this, over on this side, they've got a corner route, and then they've got an out route underneath that looks like it's kind of an option to convert up. And then Jerry Jeudy over here is running a deep over. Their other 2 eligible wide receivers, they'll be the first people to watch on this play. They are so worried about TJ Watt rushing, and TJ Watt lines up so wide that they're able to get a slot receiver inside of him with some even room from the tackle. And they actually use their slot receiver and their running back to try to chip JJ Watt on the way over. So look at that. Basically they're willing to devote 2 eligible receivers solely for the purpose of slowing TJ Watt's pass rush before he even gets to the right tackle, who right now is just hanging out by himself. They release very late, but by then, the pass play has kind of developed and they're not really serious passing options on this play. So if you'll remember what they do, they've got a corner pattern with an out under it, and then they've got the deep over coming from this side. So Winston drops back, and he appears to be looking for the corner. He feels a little pressure, and he has a pretty wide open B gap on the left side, so he runs through it. By running through it, he opens, one of the things that a lot of quarterbacks these days that are so much more mobile are doing is they're using their threat of a scramble to move defenses. So when you've got these defenders sitting in zone, they're worried a little bit about the quarterback running, and it alters their positioning and allows you better windows to throw from. But it wasn't just the movement that ended up causing a problem for the Steelers in their zone. So if you look at it, they've got everything pretty well covered. The only problem that some of you might be noticing here is as Jeudy comes over on his deep over, there isn't a deep defender there to handle that responsibility. That's supposed to be DeShon Elliot over here. So remember, they're running a cover 3. So DeShon Elliot is essentially your middle of the field deep safety. You've got Porter on this side, and you've got Dante Jackson on this side to handle outside the numbers. But on the initial action, Jeudy is so far on this side of the field, and DeShon Elliot, my apologies, gets so locked into Njoku's corner route that he drifts too far over and doesn't account for the fact that he could be having another receiver run into his zone from the other side of the field. He's out of position here. It's okay initially because Minka's underneath this route and Winston isn't able to throw it. But as Winston starts to scramble, the underneath defenders start to respect the risk of a run on third down. They don't want to give up a third down run. And you can see it with Minka as he flattens out his trajectory. He was initially kind of running with Jeudy, and then if you see as he peeks over right there and sees Winston running, he flattens it out a little bit, and Jeudy maintains depth and gets behind him. That should be okay for an underneath defender. I could see some people being like, well, Minka lost Jerry Jeudy because Winston was running. Well, with his responsibility on this play, he's supposed to have somebody over the top here. Elliott's supposed to be over the top here. He's trying to help cover this corner route, and that's fine if nobody is a threat in the middle. But when you're the middle of the field safety, there's always the threat of somebody coming from the other side into your zone like Jeudy does here. And Elliott gets too caught up in the corner route to see that Jeudy is a potential threat. And with Winston moving the underneath defenders with his scramble, he's able to create a window to get this ball over to Jeudy and in for a nice touchdown. It's a nice play by Winston, but the ultimate blame from the Steelers standpoint is on DeShon Elliot for vacating the middle of the field and getting a little too caught up on the corner route on the defense's right side. But this is great from Winston. This is something that Patrick Mahomes does really well and is even encouraged to do in Kansas City, that, if the initial play isn't there and defenses are in zone, use your feet to move the zone. You can manipulate zones, and it's a little harder to see from this angle how Minka flattened his just a little bit, and at the same time Jerry Jeudy maintained depth because he saw that there wasn't a deep safety. Winston was clearly on the same page, got him a ball in stride, and they got a touchdown to go up 7-3 in the first quarter of this game. We now jump ahead to 43 seconds to go in the first quarter. The Browns have the ball 1st and 10 at their own 38-yard line, and they're still up 7-3. Let's check out the play that they run, and then we'll break it down. As you can see, they're in the shotgun, and Winston hands it off. They run a left-sided run out of the gun and end up getting stuffed for about a loss of a yard. So let's go back and look into how this happened. Starting with the personnel, the Browns come out with 1 running back and 1 tight end. That's 11 personnel, which means they have 3 wide receivers on the field. The Steelers respond to this lighter formation with only 2 linebackers on the field and 5 defensive backs, their nickel package. The Steelers come lined up looking like they're cover 1 man with 1 deep safety, And the Browns line up their wide receivers over toward the right to keep the second level defenders shifted over to the right because they plan to run to the left. Now the Browns blocking scheme, they are going to use the tight end and Njoku to try to block Highsmith. They are going to try to use their left tackle to block Cam Heyward. The left guard and the center are pulling. The right guard is blocking, that looks like Larry Ogunjobi. And the right tackle is actually not going to block TJ Watt because the run is over to the left. They leave him, and he's going to go second level, ultimately trying to keep track of Patrick Queen. So you can see the blocking in motion here. They let Watt go because the run is going away from him. 78's looking at Queen. Here's a block here, here, and then you've got the left guard and then the center right behind him pulling. So the goal on this run is to try to, they're really going to threaten the edge, right? You're going to try your best to threaten going outside if that's available. If they're able to seal off completely and give you the edge, amazing. Oftentimes teams don't do that, and if you can't get around the edge to get upfield, you're looking for the first cutback lane that you can possibly get to get upfield. So in order to counter that as a defense, you're really looking to do two things. One is you're looking to set a strong edge, and it's hard to see from this angle, but Joey Porter Jr. is the one that takes on the pulling left guard, and he sets a really good edge. He doesn't let the running back get around him, setting that edge hard, making it impossible for the running back to get around and up. The second thing that then you want to do is behind the edge being set is you want defenders flowing slowly to the action, forcing the running back to continue outside without being able to gain any leverage above, because there's more pursuit coming from the inside. So if you can slow the running back down without allowing any north-south running, you allow your team to kind of come together and squeeze them to the sideline. This is what the Steelers do extremely well, and this isn't like a new 2024 Steelers thing or even a Mike Tomlin Steelers thing. This has been going on since the Bill Cowher days. I mean, I'm sure it's been going on since the Chuck Noll days. Chuck Noll retired when I was 2 years old, so I'm not as familiar with his work. But the Steelers have been so disciplined in run defense forever, and they were on this play as well. With a highlight additionally, look at Elandon Roberts, who's the guy who encounters the pulling center. Elandon Roberts shoots through and just obliterates the center, which further serves the purpose that they're trying to achieve here, which is to get the running back moving laterally and not allowing him to cut up the field. So the kind of three components, the edge is set. Roberts just blows up one of their primary point of attack blockers, and the defense as a whole just does a good job of slowly squeezing him to the sideline, not giving up any gaps, not allowing any opening to go north-south, and finally stopping this play for a loss of a yard. You can see it even better from the end zone view. So again, remember what the scheme is. We're getting left guard pulling, then center pulling behind, not blocking TJ Watt. Right tackle is going for Queen. This is where the right guard is going. These two pull. Is the left tackle and tight end. And now watch how the Steelers just maintain their position. There's no gap here for the running back to cut through, right? There's nothing appearing where the running back can take this upfield. And then look at Joey Porter not allowing, because the ideal is you just take the DB and just wash them out, and then hopefully you create a lane for the running back to go to. But Porter holds strong, not giving up a gap. Look at Highsmith here, helping to fill this area. Elandon Roberts just absolutely obliterates 55. Just watch 55 as he comes and tries to block Roberts. Boom. He puts him right at the running back's feet making it that much harder for him to do anything. He's just got nowhere to go. This is extremely disciplined run defense, and the Steelers get a stop again on an early play to put Cleveland behind the sticks. Now we pick it up with 13:26 to go in the second quarter. The Browns still hold a 7-3 lead, and they have a 1st and 10 right about at their 46-yard line or 47-yard line. Now let's run the play that happens, and then we'll break down what went on. After motioning Jeudy in, the Browns try to set up a screen to the right, and the screen's intercepted by Keeanu Benton, who runs it back to the 31-yard line. So let's take a look at how this happened. First of all, the Browns come out in 12 personnel. They've got, well, this actually, I don't know the Browns personnel that well. I know this could be a wide receiver over here. It's hard to tell. So if this is a wide receiver, this would be 13 personnel. This would be 11 personnel, 1 running back, 1 tight end. If it's a tight end, then that's 12 personnel, 1 running back and 2 tight ends. And then they've got the wide receivers out wide. So they're trying to set a screen, and what they're doing is they're trying to get their 3 interior linemen, the guard, the center, and the left guard, out in front of the running back, having him release with that convoy. And the key to the screen is that you want to allow defensive linemen, really as many people as you can, up the field beyond where the screen is being thrown to kind of get them out of the play. And so the blocking technique, particularly for those guys that are going to get out onto the screen, is to try to hold up briefly, but try to let them in somewhat nonchalantly, right? You don't want to make it clear that you're letting them in. You want them to think that they're headed to the quarterback. To make matters even better for the Browns, this is a wide receiver, so that's 11 personnel. To make matters even better for the Browns, the Steelers are blitzing. So they're blitzing off the corner here. So their intention is to rush these 4 and a 5th. They're playing cover 1 man, so they've got a deep safety and everybody else is manned up. You might notice that Patrick Queen comes in late. The reason why Patrick Queen comes in, he's not actually an initial blitzer, although him blitzing, coming in late does help the screen. He is responsible for David Njoku right here, and once he sees that Njoku is just blocking, he comes after the quarterback as well. But this is a pretty good situation initially for the Browns. They've got 6 people coming in and being let through, and so that only leaves 5 back. Of those 5, 3 of them are in man coverage, and so not looking at the play whatsoever. They're running that way. One of them is way down here, and the other one is Elandon Roberts, who's responsible for the running back. That's why he's here. He, in man coverage, is responsible for the running back. He saw the running back leaking out, and so he went towards him, noticing the screen. So he's blocked by one of the convoy, but if they're able to get this to the running back, they've got 2 blockers and not a lot going on in front. However, Keeanu Benton, number 95, notices that he's getting through pretty easily. He's like, why is it so easy? This is him right here. Why is it so easy for me to get through the line toward the quarterback? And he stops and turns back, sees what the linemen are doing, and realizes this is a screen. So he tries to backtrack to get back in the way of the screen. The other thing that compounds the problem is the blitzer on this side. I think it looks like Beanie Bishop. It's hard to read his number, but I think that's 31 Beanie Bishop. The blitzer on this side affects the running back's ability to get out, and screens are very much a timing and positioning play. You have to be at the right spot at the right time for the screen to work well. The running back gets out later than Winston wants him. You can see here Winston's ready to throw. Now, part of that is because he's got a blitzer in his face, but he's ready to throw and is forced to pump because the running back's not ready and the blitzer is jumping. So he gets that throw off a beat later than he wanted to, and that's just enough time for Keeanu Benton, with huge awareness on this play, to get underneath the running back undercut this pass, jump, and make the interception. If not for the blitzer, if Winston had been able to throw it here, Benton is still over here. If the running back were in position another step or two and had turned, Benton can't intercept that pass. But because Winston had to pump, hold, and then release, that's enough time. He gets underneath it and gets a big interception. Huge awareness play from Benton. That's really, really well done. The only other person on the Steelers that really seemed to recognize it was a screen was Elandon Roberts, and that's because he was guarding the running back, so he was paying attention to what the running back was doing. So we can see the setup again from the end zone view. Remember, the 3 interior linemen are the ones that are pulling. So their goal is to let everyone in, but slowly and not obviously. Unfortunately, it was obvious to Keeanu Benton. So you can see they kind of let him do a move. Okay, we get past. And Benton comes through, and I think he's like, when you're in the situation where you're like, wait, this is too easy. What's going on? And he realizes what's happening and books it over to the running back, gets right in the way, and intercepts the screen. It was just really, really well done. Queen blitzing ultimately was not helpful. Bishop blitzing did a good job of getting in the running back's way and then delaying Winston enough, making this throw that it gave time for Benton to get underneath it. Roberts also kind of recognized what was going on because he was following the running back. Benton undercuts it, gets a big pick, and this really changed the kind of outlook of the game. All right, so we've jumped a couple plays later after the Benton interception. The Steelers now have a 3rd and 7. One of the reasons why that Benton interception was such a turning point was that the Steelers' offense had really struggled up until that point, and this play ends up being really key in them kind of breaking the dam, as it were, and start scoring some touchdowns in this game. They're faced with a 3rd down here, could have easily not converted and ended up with a field goal attempt again to go down 7-6, but they run this nice play and end up converting the 3rd down via penalty. We can watch it here before we break it down. So Wilson takes a snap out of the gun, and he's looking for Austin Deep, who got held fairly early in this play, and the refs threw a flag for defensive pass interference. So let's look into this play, how they got into that position, and what led to the penalty. So first of all, the Steelers are coming out here in 11 personnel. They've got 1 running back, Jaylen Warren, 1 tight end, Pat Freiermuth. Wide receivers are Mike Williams over here, Calvin Austin, and it looks like Van Jefferson to me is over there. The Browns are playing cover 1 man here, so you can see them rotate into it. There's 1 deep safety, there's 1 underneath the robber defender, and then everybody else is just playing man coverage. Sorry, I drew that wrong. This is Freiermuth, man. This guy is actually guarding Jaylen Warren, and so everybody's manned up. So to beat the man coverage, the route combination that the Steelers go with, they have Jefferson comes down and run a deep curl. Austin is going to run a corner. And Freiermuth is going to run a drag route over the middle. Mike Williams runs a post. And Warren comes out to the flat. So running a corner actually is a really good move for Austin, because what he's got on tape right now are a lot of wins up into the post. He's caught a couple touchdowns that way, and so this time Arthur Smith is going to have him come and then run to the corner. Even better, what he does is he releases inside. So the corner really, in this situation, when you've got a guy in the slot who's fast and you have a safety in the middle of the field, you really want to funnel this receiver toward the middle of the field, right? If he gets outside, that puts your safety in a tough spot, having to cover all the way to the sideline and leaves the middle vulnerable. So if you'll notice this, look at the leverage here being played here. So the slot corner is really trying, I believe that's Greg Newsome. He's really trying to get Austin to come inside. That's where your safety help is. But Austin runs a great route right here at the beginning. So he takes the inside release, and then watch his next couple steps right here. Takes that inside release and then hard step, crosses the face right there and beats the corner outside. That's awesome route running. That kind of, the corner has to respect his speed, comes hard, cut, boom. And what choice does he have? He's got to grab there because he knows he's beat. If he lets Austin go outside with the middle field safety, Austin is then coming up and going, and this is probably a touchdown. So he grabs him right there and ends up completely impeding his motion, and the ball is thrown, and the play is called pass interference, and the Steelers get 15 yards. The only thing I'll say is I don't know that I agree that this is pass interference. I think this is a holding, defensive holding, because if you look at where this starts, right here is where the contact starts, and Russell Wilson throws it now. Like, he's already had everything done to him once this ball's being thrown. So I don't think this is a live ball in the air penalty. So I don't think it should have been called pass interference. I mean, it's a little bit splitting hairs just because ultimately it was, I think, a 15-yard penalty automatic first down. And what I'm saying it should have been would have been a 5-yard penalty automatic first down. So the Steelers would have got a first down, but 10 fewer yards. But in my opinion, the correct call here would have been defensive holding. In any case, it was a crucial play for the Steelers because it kept this drive going, and it's all credit to a great route run right here by Calvin Austin. This win right there is what set up the penalty and what got them a first down and ultimately led to them scoring a touchdown and taking the lead. We can see the throw here from the end zone view, but I don't know that we're going to get a good view of the route. We actually do. This is pretty good. So this is the step that I was talking about. So Austin takes a step inside, look at him cross the face, and then Newsome has to hold him because he's beat. Like, he would have been gone for a touchdown. Wilson sees it. He throws it. I wonder if the attempt was to get a pass interference call, seeing the hold, but this was, done before the ball was thrown. In my opinion, that should have been defensive holding, but that doesn't take away from how great of a win this was from Calvin Austin, which caused the penalty in the first place. We jump ahead now to 33 seconds to go in the first half. The Browns are down 13-7, and they're facing a 3rd and 7 at the Steelers' 20-yard line. Browns are looking to score a touchdown here to take the lead back going into half, and the Steelers are hoping to force a field goal attempt to go into half with a lead. So let's see the play as it plays out, and then we will break it down. Jameis takes the snap out of shotgun, tries to throw a corner pattern to David Njoku, and it's knocked down by DeShon Elliot. Clutch play. Let's see how it happened. So first things, the Browns come out, and they are in 11 personnel. They've got one running back, one tight end, and the Steelers predictably counter with their nickel. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defensive backs, and it looks like the 2 linebackers are Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson, and they've got their 4 down linemen. So what the Steelers end up doing is they run cover 1. They've got deep safety Minkah Fitzpatrick here, and they end up sending 5. So they rush their 4 and they blitz Patrick Queen, so they don't have enough personnel for an underneath zone defender. Everybody else is manned up. So against this man coverage, what the Browns run, they send Moore down the field. They have a drag route from the slot out to the flat from the running back. And here they've got a combination. Jeudy runs a curl and Njoku runs to the corner. And a lot of teams like that route. They've got a tight end manned up on a safety, and that's where Jameis decides to go. So he hits the back of his drop. He's got Njoku in tight coverage, and he decides to throw the corner and kind of trust your tight end, the athletic tight end, to go up and win. And Elliott just does a great job getting to this ball and knocking it down. So if you watch the course of the coverage, Elliott here, so right at the stem where Njoku makes his cut, Njoku actually pushes him off a little bit, and Elliott loses half a step, but does a great job right here closing. So you see Njoku having, it was very physical right there at the turn. He gets a little bit of separation there with his left hand, but look at how well Elliott closes and knocks this down. That's amazing. Great play by Elliott, forcing a field goal attempt. So we can see it from this view. We won't be able to see the kind of course of the coverage, but if you look at Elliott come up, great play on the ball. Amazing. Can't ask for better from him. And not only did this save the 4 points that you'd expect, saving a touchdown, and instead they're making them kick a field goal, the Browns missed the field goal. So this potentially saved 7 points. They went from having a potential first and goal inside the 5 to having a 4th and 7 at the 20. They missed the field goal, so the Steelers went into half up 13-7. Huge play from DeShon Elliot here in coverage. We jump ahead to 11:57 to go in the third quarter. The Steelers have the ball. They are up 13-7, and they're faced with a 3rd and 10 at their own 33-yard line or so. So let's run this play through once, and then we can talk about what happened. So Wilson drops back to throw, hits the back of his drop, and has to escape out the B gap, and then finds Pat Freiermuth over the middle for a big first down. So let's look into how that happened, starting with the formations here. So the Steelers are in 12 personnel. That means they've got 1 running back, and they've got 2 tight ends. That's Darnell Washington. This is Pat Freiermuth. They have 2 wide receivers, Mike Williams, and this is Van Jefferson. The Browns come out, and they seem to be running just a pretty standard cover 3. So Juan Thornhill here is the deep middle safety, and then they've got Ward and this corner over here, whose name I do not know, kind of playing their deep third responsibilities. And then everybody else is underneath. Now, the Steelers do something interesting with their protection. Remember we talked about in an earlier clip how the Browns were blocking essentially TJ Watt they had a receiver and a running back out there chipping in addition to the left tackle. So they're dedicating 3 to TJ Watt. Well, the Steelers are doing the same thing to Myles Garrett on this play, except it's a tight end and a running back in addition to Dan Moore. So if you look over here, Garrett has the attention of 3 people in order to prevent him from disrupting this play. This is a long developing play. It's a 3rd and 10. So they really wanted to make sure that there was no chance of Garrett ruining it. But because of that, only 3 people are going out on pass patterns. And honestly, it's not that complicated of a pass combination. They're just sending a go route over here, and Freiermuth underneath is going to run a corner. So Wilson drops back, but nobody pops open immediately because in this case where you have the 3rd and 10, the underneath defenders in the cover 3 are dropping very deep. So oftentimes, if you clear out the over-the-top guy, what draws someone like Newsome right here down is that you'll have somebody come out to the flat. And so he can't drop too far down because there's a chance that someone could catch it and get up to the first down marker. But the Steelers are devoting their other 2 eligible receivers over to this side. So even when they do have someone release, like Warren releases late and so does Washington, the guy on this side is the flat defender that has to come down. But they're running the corner to this side. I feel like in hindsight, maybe the play design would have made more sense to have Freiermuth on the side of Garrett, to have 2 tight ends there, so that you could be sure that on the side that he ran the cornerback in that position would have a flat responsibility because that's where you're chipping with those guys, so you have an eligible receiver over there. The problem is, since once these guys release, this corner has to pay attention. So if someone was running an intermediate route behind Van Jefferson, then you'd get a gap to throw to. On this side, Mike Williams is clearing out. Freiermuth is running a corner, but Newsome can completely come up and undercut that corner because there's no eligible receiver anywhere over here. So that would be my one critique with this play design, is that it doesn't really set up for Freiermuth to have a chance to get open behind the defense. Wilson sees that, he hits the back of his drop and he sees he's got nothing. His go routes, there are guys over the top. His corner route, there's a guy sitting underneath. He's got nothing. So he does what he has done well throughout his career. He uses his feet to try to move zone defenders. He is able to escape through the B gap on the right. And as he comes up, this causes the underneath defenders to come up as well. And a lot of credit here to Pat Freiermuth, who at this point running his corner, he realizes that this is done. So instead of trying to run out his route, he goes into creation mode and doubles it back across the middle. And that coincides with Wilson running, which brings defenders up and creates a void over the middle that Wilson is able to hit before Newsome can close it, and they get a huge catch for first down. But this is great ad-lib work by Freiermuth. He stops, he sees the void, he doubles back. Wilson is escaping and sees Freiermuth, gets it to him. Big first down for the Steelers, keeps the chains moving. So from this perspective, you can really see the attention devoted. So Washington's going to come, Warren's going to come and chip, and then Dan Moore is coming behind. And you see how long it takes Washington and Warren to get out into their routes because of Garrett. Like, Wilson has already hit the back of his drop, hitched once, and the pocket's closing even more than I thought. Like, he had to get out of there. This wasn't even just I'm going to choose to create because nothing's open. He actually, Siamalu was beat, and so Wilson had to get out of there. Comes up, and this is where Freiermuth did such a good job of making himself available for his quarterback, finding an open area. Wilson was able to get it to him, and they got a big first down. We jump ahead to 8:37 to go in the third quarter. The Steelers are still up 13-7, and they have the ball on the Browns' 10-yard line with a 2nd and 6. Let's run the play, and then let's break down what happens. So this is a fake handoff. Wilson throws it to Jefferson for the touchdown. Now let's see how that happened, starting by looking at personnel. We are in 12 personnel. That means 1 running back and 2 tight ends. And what the Steelers are going to run is like an RPO with a zone read action. So they're running it like a zone read with the run play being over to the left. And typical of a zone read, you're going to read the backside edge to determine what to do. If Myles Garrett decides to crash down, then Russell Wilson will keep this ball. However, if Myles Garrett comes down to contain, Russell Wilson hands off to Jaylen Warren, and it's a run play. The difference being that typically when the Steelers run a zone read, or when teams often run zone reads with mobile quarterbacks, the 2 options are Warren running or the quarterback running. But in this case, if Wilson keeps this, he's not necessarily going to run with it. In fact, he's probably not. This looks like it's designed to be a pass concept off of the zone read if they hand off. Now, definitely the way that the line is blocking, they're blocking as if this is a run play. And it's on the line to try to determine whether it's a pass play. And so if you notice, Broderick Jones and Zach Frazier come up field like they're going to get second level defenders and then end up peeling back because they don't want to get ineligible man downfield penalties. Typically, you're allowed a yard to go downfield on a pass play. If you see here, Frazier and Jones probably get a little closer to 2 yards right there, but do get back. They both make an effort to get back within that yard before the pass is thrown. And so, like I said, now that Wilson sees Myles Garrett crash, right? So he's going to keep this ball, but he's not keeping it to run. However, defenses are somewhat programmed to expect that, right? That's usually what happens, is that once the quarterback keeps this, he's just going to go run. So first, you want to look at what the defense does in response to the run action. They actually get a lot of defenders moving in at the run action. Look at all the movement, even up here, toward the potential run from Jaylen Warren. And it's not until about now that these three defenders in particular notice that Wilson's keeping the ball. So they go from looking for the run in the center of the field to now looking at the run over here. So their next thing to do is they come down toward Russell Wilson. Throughout this entire time, going from one look to the other, they lose track of Van Jefferson, who's just snuck right down through the middle. And so Wilson has a wide open Jefferson right behind the defense for a touchdown. A really well-designed play from Arthur Smith. Really hinges on a couple things. One, the kind of belief that they will kind of respect the run option. Two, that they will respect the run from the quarterback. And three, that your lineman won't get downfield. And that one was pretty close for the Steelers here. Jones and Frazier both doubled back. Seumalo ended up getting upfield, but fortunately for the Steelers, Wilson had already released the ball at that point. But when Wilson releases the ball, technically all the linemen are okay. Then Seumalo moves upfield right after. Really well-designed play from Arthur Smith. So we'll see it again. This is your read guy for Russell Wilson. That's who he's going to look over at. When he sees Garrett continuing to come in, he knows that he's not going to hand this ball off. He's going to continue with the second action of the play. As he comes out, you can see the defenders. Really, Jefferson is made open by their respect for the run, right? They've already come so far inside that even if they did turn around right now and try to get back to Jefferson, they don't have time. Look at how far in they have gotten. Jefferson's already open. So it's really that run action that got Jefferson open. But as we saw from the other view, even at this point, they're not going toward Jefferson. They're all coming toward Wilson. And Wilson has a pretty easy throw. Nice play design from Arthur Smith. Steelers get a touchdown to go up 20-7. We jump ahead to 5:50 to go in the third quarter. Now the Browns are down 20-7, and they have a 4th and 1 at the Steelers' 49-yard line and decide to go for it. Let's see how it goes. Winston hands it off to the left, and it goes nowhere. Huge loss on a tackle by Elandon Roberts. So let's see how this play ended up like this. First thing is looking at who we've got on the field. So we've got 2 running backs here and 2 tight ends. This is 22 personnel. Heavy formation. And the Steelers actually counter this and stay in their nickel. They still have 5 defensive backs. They've only got 4 down linemen and 2 linebackers. So they're in a smaller personnel package than I would have expected coming up against 22. What the Browns end up doing, they are going to try to run a sweep to the left. And how they're going to accomplish this, they're going to have the tight end kind of lead block. So he's going to be responsible for taking the edge here, Alex Highsmith. And they're going to try to get the wide receiver to come back and block Elandon Roberts. And this, to me, was and I think to most people that watch this play, will be seen as the flaw in the plan. They additionally pull the left guard to come out ahead of the sweep. So let's watch this in action. So here you go. It's a sweep to the left. They've got the tight end coming up to get Highsmith. Here comes the left guard pulling. And this wide receiver, his action actually does 2 things. It gets Porter inside so that he's not outside to take the sweep. And the goal is to block Roberts to prevent him. So then if you get a block here, the guard can lead around and you can follow. The problem being that Elandon Roberts comes like fired out of a cannon. He sees what's happening. He gets downhill fast. The receiver completely whiffs the block because of how fast Elandon Roberts is getting down the field. And Roberts just blows this play up for a big loss. No chance here. So yeah, it's a tough ask when you have a defender that's as good downhill against the run as Elandon Roberts. Really tough ask for a wide receiver to come in and block him. And I mean, it wasn't even close. Elandon Roberts just blew right by that and blew up the play. Recognition was great, and he just fired out and got it done. Honestly, he looks a lot like Derek Johnson on this play to me, which Derek Johnson's one of my favorite football players ever, so that's high praise. But this is how he would play on these kind of crucial. He was very instinctive, would read plays fast and just get downhill and make big stops, and that's what Roberts did there. All right, so from this view up here, we'll wait for the shift. So what we've got, it's the sweep, right? And so you're going to have him come and block Highsmith. He's going to come and try to seal Elandon Roberts, and Porter, who's in man coverage, is going to run with him. Then we're going to pull this guard to try to lead the sweep. And you can see how everything kind of was lining up except for Elandon Roberts. Look, Porter has come inside. Assuming this block is made, this play might work. But this block wasn't made because of a great play by Elandon Roberts. He just fires through. Look at how the receiver has no chance. Takes out the running back. Turnover on downs. Steelers get the ball back up 20-7. All right, we're at 3:51 to go in the third quarter. The Steelers have a 20-7 lead, and they have the ball at the Browns' 20-yard line with a 2nd and 10. Let's look through the play, and then we'll dissect how it happened. We've got motion to the right. Wilson drops back, steps to his right, and throws down the seam to Freiermuth for a touchdown. Let's see how this play was set up. So, first things first, the Steelers come out, and they've got one tight end in this formation. This is 11 personnel, one running back, and one tight end. That's Pat Freiermuth. They are going to motion Calvin Austin over and run the following route concept. They're going to have Miller run an out route over here. And then here they're going to have Skoranek run out. Austin is going to come out and up. And Freiermuth is going to go down the seam. The Browns are running a cover one man formation. So you see they are manned up on everybody, and they've got a deep middle safety. So Wilson drops back, and Freiermuth wins to the inside on the seam route. He does a really good job on this route of opening up to the outside and threatening toward the outside before crossing the face of the defender and coming up the seam. And Wilson sees Freiermuth coming up open down the seam, throws it right in there. Good throw from Wilson for the touchdown. But the question is, why was the safety not in the middle of the field? If you look at it, like, this is the one route toward the middle of the field, and the safety is not in a position to affect this route at all. So what was going on there? And for that, we'll have to look at the end zone view. So watch Wilson here as he snaps this ball, as he gets the ball. So Wilson, to my eye, wants this route. This is what he wants, Freiermuth down the seam. He knows he has single high, so he starts by looking to his left. He looks to the out route that Miller's looking. And that look initially over to the left, if you can see it as Wilson turns back, it's a little delayed reaction. It causes the safety to step a couple steps over there because he was looking in that direction. Look at that safety move, right there. And then as Wilson comes back over, he's created a little bit of a window with his eyes, and now he can fire that ball in there before the safety can get there. This is the kind of thing that having a veteran quarterback, the argument that people were making to have Wilson over Fields, this is the kind of thing. And I had actually posted a video in the preseason of Wilson doing something similar with the same argument that if Wilson is going to be useful, these are the kinds of things he's going to do. Now, to Wilson's credit, he's played a lot better in other areas than I thought he was going to this year. But this was his major value, being a veteran, and he showed it here. Looked off the safety long enough to get a couple steps in the other direction. That was enough for him to have a good window to throw into before the safety could close it again. Fired it in to Freiermuth with a touchdown. So it's a combination of a great route run by Freiermuth, because he's beating man coverage primarily because he's starting to challenge outside and then does a great job of transitioning inside, getting inside of the defender. And the timing is perfect. Wilson, having looked off the safety, is able to fire that right into the gap. Great throw, great route, great catch, and the Steelers go up 27-7 nearing the end of the third quarter. Now with the first play of the fourth quarter, the Browns have a 3rd and 6, and they are still down 27-7. Let's see what they do with it. They go from being spread out to bringing the running back into the backfield. Jameis drops back, doesn't like what he sees, tries to escape left, but the interior guys do a great job of containing. Ultimately, he is sacked. So let's see how it happened. The Browns come out here lined up in 11 personnel. They've got one running back, and here's their tight end, David Njoku. The Steelers appear to be, I think this is Patrick Queen, so this looks like nickel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defensive backs. I think this is Wilson here, and I think this is Queen. They will run a cover 1 man. So they're guarding everybody straight up. Actually, my apologies, cover 2 man. So they've got 2 deep safeties here, and they're covering everybody straight up. So the Browns, their route combination here, they're going to go down the field, drag, and then kind of a curl. Looks like a whip route here, or a whip route would have been in to out, but whatever you call this kind of outside release, and then in, and then go into the flat. And honestly, the Steelers just cover this really well in man. If you look, like Winston hits the back of his drop, sit, he's got nothing. Covered, and Wilson's charging on this, but it's far from the first down marker. And so a common thing against cover 2 man is that since everybody's running with somebody, there's the only people that have eyes on the quarterback are way down the field. So oftentimes if quarterbacks can't see anything, if everybody seems covered on first blush, they'll just try to run against cover 2 man because there's no one sitting in the middle of the field to prevent this. But this is where the rush does a great job. The 2 interior rushers for the Steelers do a great job maintaining gap discipline. Here, there was a wide open B gap right here, but good recognition from the tackles coming over, and then Heyward also comes in to help out. Heyward ends up collecting the sack, but this is a combination of a coverage sack and the 2 defensive tackles maintaining discipline, understanding the risk of a run in this situation and not allowing any big holes in the pocket up the middle to ultimately collect the sack. You can see it here from the end zone view. Winston drops back and initially doesn't have anything, so he sees the escape route, and this is just a great job coming around. And then the follow-up is important too. The moving in harmony here so that there's no place for Winston to escape, closing in the pocket and sacking him. Because if he does escape here, there is a risk for him going 6 yards. As I was saying, the only people that have eyes on the quarterback are the two deep safeties, and they're back at the goal line at this point when he gets sacked. So if he had managed to escape contained somewhere around here, all these guys are following a man. So unless they kind of really double back and manage to get him, he's a high risk to get the first down. So great job by the D tackles on this play. Ultimately, Cam Heyward coming up with the sack. To add insult to injury, I believe it was 65 right here at the end of the play, gets penalized for unnecessary roughness. I think he was upset with how long, there was kind of a pile around Winston, and then they ended up coming down at the end, and I think he was upset with that. And you can see at the very end, he goes in. We see the beginning of him going in on Heyward. So he got an extra 15-yard penalty, and so the Browns weren't even able to kick a field goal. They had to punt here, down 27-7. This probably was realistically the last chance for them to really get into the game. A touchdown there plus a quick stop, maybe you start getting a chance. But now at the beginning of the fourth quarter, you're punting the ball away, down 20. At that point, it's looking pretty bleak. So for our last play of this week's film review, we'll take a desperation time play. We're at 4:07 to go in the fourth quarter. The Steelers are up 27-14 at this point. The Browns did get a touchdown, but they're still down 2 possessions. They need 2 touchdowns, and they're getting toward 4 minutes to go in the game. They are just inside the Steelers' 40-yard line. They have a 1st and 10, but they're looking to move the ball quickly to try to score. Let's see what happens. Here Winston's in the gun, takes the snap, tries to hit a seam route, overthrows it, and is intercepted. And if you didn't think the game was over before this, at this point, you will certainly think the game is over. So let's look at what happened on this play. The Steelers are running their kind of standard cover 3. They got the deep safety, and then the 2 corners come back. And then they have underneath coverage from these 4 defenders. They're in the nickel package. They've got Wilson and Queen here. That is to counter 11 personnel. We got 1 running back, 1 tight end for the Browns. The Browns essentially run like a 4 verts concept. So they've got these 2 sticking with the vertical, and it looks like the outside guys kind of run hitches. It's a good concept to run against the cover 3 because it makes the middle of the field defender decide on which of the seam routes to cover, leaving the other one potentially open. So Winston drops back. You can see the verticals. He decides on this one, maybe because Fitzpatrick is sitting on the opposite hash. He decides to... At this point, he's kind of decided where to throw, and maybe because of his positioning, he decides that he wants this seam route right here. He just gets a little too much mustard on it, and Pierre, number 42, does a good job recognizing what's happening, and he kind of circles underneath the route and is Johnny on the spot for an overthrow. He was right there to get it, intercept it, and end the game that was, effectively over anyway. But you can see it from Winston's perspective. He's looking down the middle, and I think that's right. He's just looking at the safety position to make his decision. Since the safety was a little bit over on that hash, he threw it where he had a little more field. Unfortunately, he threw it just a little too far, I guess trying to fit it over the underneath defender, but to get it down in time to get to his receiver. Unfortunately, he wasn't quite able to get that trajectory right, and it was intercepted, ending this game effectively, and the Steelers would end up winning 27-14, moving their record now to 10-3. Looking there with the Bills' loss, now the Steelers are tied for the 2nd seed in the AFC. Both the Steelers and the Bills are 2 games behind the Chiefs, but the Steelers do have a game head-to-head with the Chiefs on Christmas Day, so they have an opportunity to try to get closer to a potential 1 seed. Thanks so much for watching. Next up, we will soon record the Week 14 recap episode of the Steeler Thoughts Chief Feelings podcast, which will be here on the YouTube channel and available for download wherever you download podcasts. Thanks so much for following along. We'll see you next week with some more film reviews of the Chiefs and Steelers Week 15 games. Until next time.